What if I told you that her walking away wasn't the end, but your greatest opportunity in disguise? She left, and maybe that feels like the worst moment of your life. You're overwhelmed with confusion, regret, and the need to understand what just happened. But here's a truth most men never realize. Her leaving isn't your defeat. It's your awakening. When a woman walks away, most guys collapse. They chase, they beg, they lose themselves in the process. But the ones who rise, the ones who stop focusing on her and start focusing inward, those are the men she can't forget. Heartbreak is not a curse. It's the invitation to rebuild. Right now, you're at a turning point. You can let this define your worth, or you can become the version of yourself she never imagined losing. If you're ready to stop reacting and start transforming, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I control my emotions, not the world. Let's begin. Number 1. Face the fire, don't flee the flames. Right now your heart feels like it's been split in two. The silence left after a breakup is louder than any argument, and every little detail, from an old message to a familiar scent, cuts you open all over again. You wake up with her still on your mind. You go to sleep replaying memories you wish you could forget. This kind of pain can feel unbearable, and your first instinct might be to escape it, to drink it away, distract yourself with work, dive into meaningless connections, or pretend you're fine when you're not. But the Stoics knew better. Suffering avoided is suffering prolonged. The only way out of the pain is through it. In the Stoic worldview, emotions are not your enemy, but they are not your identity either. They are like storms passing through your consciousness. You are not the storm, you are the sky that holds it. The truly strong person is not the one who feels nothing, but the one who feels everything and still stands tall. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That strength begins with your willingness to sit in the discomfort and understand that it's not here to destroy you, it's here to refine you. Heartbreak is like a forge, and you are the metal. The more intense the heat, the stronger you can become if you courageously endure it. Don't fight the pain, feel it. Let it hit you like waves and stand firm like a rock in the tide. When you stop numbing yourself and start allowing the grief to move through you, something extraordinary happens. You start to gain control. That's when real healing begins. Not when you stop hurting, but when the hurt stops controlling you. Your pain in this moment is the clearest sign that you loved deeply. That's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of. But don't confuse love with attachment. What you're mourning isn't just her presence, it's the loss of a version of your imagined future. The Stoics remind us that we never own what lies outside our own minds, not people, not possessions, not outcomes. What you had was real, but it was never yours to keep. That doesn't make it meaningless. It makes it precious. So how do you take action right now? Every time the pain spikes, do something with it. Go to the gym, not to look better for her, but to prove that you can rise. Read something that makes you stronger. Write your thoughts down. Cry if you need to. There's no weakness in tears, only release. But don't run. Don't be distracted. Let the pain carve you into someone deeper, more aware and unshakably calm. Psychologically, this does something powerful. It shows your mind that you are in control. Not her, not the past, not the heartbreak. And if she ever sees you again, standing tall, self-contained, peaceful in your solitude, she won't see the broken man she left. She'll see someone who faced the fire and walked out of it tempered, not scarred. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 2, she was never yours to begin with. Right now, your heart is still clinging to the idea of her. You replay the memories, hold on to photos, and read old conversations, trying to find meaning or comfort. Deep down, you still believe she was yours, like you lost something that belonged to you. That's where the real wound festers, not in the love itself, but in the illusion of possession. You think of her as the one who got away, and that thought alone feeds your suffering. But the Stoics would ask, was she ever truly yours? Can anyone ever belong to another? However painful, the truth is this: she was a chapter in your story, not the whole book. You shared time, not ownership. According to Stoic philosophy, everything outside your own mind is not truly yours. That includes money, status, and especially people. Epictetus said, "You are not disturbed by things, but by your opinion of them." You believed she was permanent. You believed the relationship would last. But permanence is an illusion. We are always just borrowing moments. She came into your life, stayed for a while, and now she's gone. Not because the universe betrayed you, but because change is inevitable. She chose to leave, and that choice belongs to her, just as your response to that choice belongs only to you. This shift in thinking is liberating. Once you accept that she was never yours, you free yourself from the chains of betrayal, regret, and anger. You stop asking why did she leave and start accepting that she simply did. You stop interpreting her absence as rejection and start seeing it as reality. And once you face reality without resistance, you become untouchable. There's peace in letting go, not of her, but of the false belief that you needed her to be whole. Your identity is not tied to anyone else. She may have left your life, but didn't take your essence with her. Here's how you take action now. Begin the mental discipline of detachment. When romanticizing her, remind yourself, she was never mine. When a memory surfaces, don't suppress it. Observe it without judgment, then let it go. Stop reaching for closure in the form of her validation or explanation. Closure is a gift you give yourself when you stop demanding answers. Write this mantra and read it every morning. I own nothing but my mind and my actions. Everything else is borrowed, and what's borrowed must one day be returned. This shift does more than just ease your pain. It also shifts the power dynamic. She feels it when you no longer chase, no longer seek, and no longer pine. Whether she admits it or not, the absence of your emotional dependence will hit her. Your detachment becomes your strength. And strength is attractive, not in a manipulative way, but in a natural, magnetic way. People are drawn to those who don't need them. The moment you no longer try to reclaim her is the moment she wonders why you stopped. This is the paradox of loss. The more tightly you hold on, the more you bleed. The moment you release, you begin to heal. Let her go. Not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Thank her silently for the lesson. She showed you how deeply you could feel. Now let that depth become your foundation, not your prison. Now comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 3. The cold vanish. Use silence as power. You may be tempted to explain yourself. Maybe you've already typed out long messages you never sent, or worse, ones you did. You wonder if you should reach out, break the silence, or check in to see if she still cares. Deep down, there's a belief that if you could just say the right thing, maybe she'd return. But let's be honest. Every message you send, every like on her social media, every glance at her story, it all screams, "I'm still tied to you." That's not power, that's dependence. And dependence is the opposite of Stoic strength. In the aftermath of a breakup, your silence isn't a weakness. It's your strongest move. It doesn't say, "I'm ignoring you." It says, "You no longer influence my world." The Stoics teach us that self-mastery begins when we stop reacting to every impulse. You don't need to justify your silence. You don't need to explain your absence. The moment you stop trying to prove anything is when you begin to control everything. Consider silence like a sword. It's clean, sharp, and leaves space for the other person to feel your absence without resistance. When you vanish without drama, you don't create chaos. They do. That's when they start wondering, not because you said something clever or posted something vague, but because you stopped showing up. Epictetus would remind you, it is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Her leaving wasn't the betrayal. Your belief that you need closure, attention, or emotional contact keeps you stuck. So stop feeding it. The cold vanish isn't ghosting, it's growth. It's not running away, it's stepping back into your own frame. The silence creates a void where your energy used to be, and voids are loud. Louder than any paragraph you could ever text her. Here's how you implement this. Go full blackout. No contact, no checking her socials, no indirect attention. Delete the messages, archive the photos, and mute her name. Not out of spite, but because your energy needs a new home. You. Every time you want to reach out, do something for yourself instead. Read, train, build, meditate. Let the silence echo. Not as a weapon against her, but as a shield for yourself. Over time, your emotional dependency starts to dissolve, and your mind begins to rewire itself toward independence. The psychological effect is massive, not only on you but on her. Your silence triggers uncertainty. Why hasn't he said anything? Did he move on? Did he stop caring? This uncertainty breeds curiosity, and curiosity is powerful. It creates tension, the kind of tension that can't be faked with words. And more importantly, it forces you to face the discomfort you've been avoiding. When you stop needing her reaction, you start reclaiming your peace. The world doesn't need to hear your pain to validate it, and she doesn't need to know what you're doing. If you're still looking for one, the best revenge is silence combined with self-respect. Because once you've mastered the art of not responding, not explaining, and not chasing, you become a man of mystery, and mystery is magnetic. Now, speak out. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 4. Become the ghost who builds in silence. Right now, you're stuck in that emotional limbo where part of you wants to move on, but another part still wants her to see what she's missing. You think about leveling up, hitting the gym harder, dressing better, learning more, but somewhere in the back of your mind, you're hoping she'll notice. That's the trap. Improvement born out of spite is still a form of emotional dependence. True transformation doesn't announce itself, it doesn't scream for attention, it grows quietly, deliberately, like a ghost sharpening his sword in the shadows. If you want to be free, not just from her, but from the part of yourself that still needs her validation, then you must begin to evolve, for no one but yourself. The Stoics believed in internal mastery, not external performance. Marcus Aurelius didn't journal to impress anyone, he did it to understand himself. Seneca didn't practice self-restraint to prove a point, he did it to gain clarity. Your pain right now is a forge, and you have two choices. Use it to chase her, or use it to chisel the man you were always meant to become. The second path is harder because no one sees the progress right away. No applause, no likes, no texts from her saying I'm proud of you. But that's the point. The moment you improve in silence is the moment you reclaim your power. So how do you start? You go ghost, not emotionally, but socially. You stop updating the world on your glow-up. You stop trying to craft the perfect story or post. You disappear from her view and reappear in your own. Wake up earlier, train your body with precision, study something that sharpens your thinking, build habits that align with the man you want to be 5 years from now, not for her to see, not for anyone to applaud, for you, for the version of yourself that doesn't beg, doesn't break, and doesn't broadcast. And when you build in silence, something remarkable happens. People feel it even if they can't see it. Your energy shifts. You become more composed, more focused, more grounded. You speak less, but your presence says more. And if she does see you one day, it won't be the version she remembers. It'll be someone unshakable. Not the guy who tried to prove her wrong, but the man who didn't need her approval. That's not revenge. That's transcendence. From a psychological standpoint, this kind of growth is powerful because it's not reactive, it's intentional. When you detach from the need to show progress, you create space for deeper, more sustainable change. You're no longer driven by insecurity, you're driven by purpose. And that's the type of change that lasts. Not a temporary boost, but a full rewrite of who you are. So vanish. Let them wonder. Let the silence grow heavy. You don't owe the world your progress. Let your results speak for you. Let your actions become your voice. And most importantly, let your discipline become your freedom. When you no longer need to be seen, you become unstoppable. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 5. Be the flame that draws, not the smoke that chases. Right now, your instinct might still be to chase, to show her you've changed, to win her back, to prove your worth through attention, effort, or emotion. But that chase is exactly what robs you of your power. Chasing makes you look desperate. It makes you emotionally predictable. And in the eyes of someone who's already moved on, it only validates their decision to leave. You don't need to be smoke drifting, reacting, begging to be noticed. You need to be the flame. Still, controlled, burning silently. A flame doesn't chase, it doesn't plead, it just is. And everything around it is drawn in. The Stoics teach us that emotional control is not suppression, it's sovereignty. You are not to be ruled by external circumstances, especially not by the behaviors or decisions of someone who no longer walks beside you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, think, or do, only what you do." That's the essence of the flame. The more you anchor yourself in your own actions, in your own internal discipline, the less the outside world has power over you. To be the flame means you become the source of your own closure, your own healing, your own momentum. When you stop reaching for her and start reaching within, something changes, not just in how she sees you, but in how you see yourself. Suddenly, you're not reacting to every thought or memory. You're not feeling anxious or sad every time her name crosses your mind. You are stable, and that stability is magnetic. So here's how to apply this. Cut the energetic ties. Don't stalk her on social media. Don't secretly hope she texts. Don't try to force accidental run-ins. Instead, build your daily ritual like a warrior. Morning routines with intention. Training that tests your limits. Reading expands your mind. Meditation that centers your spirit. And above all, emotional composure is present in every situation. You're not just becoming better, you're becoming unshakable. Your life becomes so full of momentum, purpose, and peace that the thought of chasing someone who left begins to feel ridiculous. Psychologically, this shift has enormous consequences. You move from reactive to proactive. You're no longer waiting for her to validate your growth, you're already living it. You don't post to get her attention, you don't change your appearance so she notices. You do it because you've realized you're worth the work. And paradoxically, that's exactly when people start to notice. When you stop trying to be seen, you become impossible to ignore. If she ever looks back, it won't be because you begged. It'll be because she remembers a version of you that no longer exists. And the new version, stoic, composed, glowing from within, will be a stranger to her. Not because you've changed to spite her, but because you've grown beyond the need to explain yourself at all. You are not the broken one anymore. You are the flame. You are the calm in the chaos. And you don't chase, you lead. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind. No one else does. Number 6. Rewrite your story. Don't replay the pain. Right now, you're living inside a loop. Your mind keeps dragging you back to when it all fell apart. The breakup, the last message, the silence. You relive the conversations, the fights, the moments you wish you could do over. And each time you replay it, the pain cuts deeper. You start telling yourself stories like, "I should have been better," or "I wasn't enough." Those thoughts create a dangerous narrative, one where you're the victim, and she's the one who holds all the power. But here's the truth the Stoics knew well. You don't control what happened, but you do control how the story continues. And it's time you stopped rereading the same chapter and started writing a new one. Epictetus taught that it's not events that break us, it's our interpretation of those events. The breakup wasn't your downfall, it was a fork in the road. You can either walk the path of bitterness, self-pity, and regret, or take the harder path, transformation. The pain you feel doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human. But staying trapped in that pain, that's a choice. And the longer you choose to stay in the story where she broke you, the longer you stay broken. To rewrite your story, stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I learn from this?" Maybe you gave too much of yourself. Maybe you ignored your own needs. Maybe you didn't value your worth. Whatever the reason, it's not about blaming yourself. It's about reclaiming authorship over your own narrative. This isn't the end of your story, it's a plot twist, and you get to decide what comes next. Here's what to do. Start by reframing your language. Stop saying, "I lost her," and start saying, "I learned from her." Write down what this experience taught you, not just about love, but about yourself. Create a vision of the man you want to become. Define him in detail. What does he think? How does he handle the pain? How does he walk into a room? Then, take one action daily that brings you closer to that man. This is your story now, one written with clarity, purpose, and direction. This shift doesn't just help you heal, it changes everything. Psychologically, when you take control of your story, you begin to see yourself differently. You're not the heartbroken guy anymore. You're the man who rose after heartbreak, the man who turned grief into growth. And that energy radiates. People feel it. She might feel it too one day, but by then it won't matter, because you won't be chasing her approval. You'll be too focused on living a life you're proud of. The Stoics believed in practicing hardship to strengthen the soul. This pain is your practice. It's your classroom. It's your chance to become something deeper, stronger, and wiser. Not because you were abandoned, but because you were redirected. Don't just get over her, grow past her. Don't stay stuck in a chapter she exited. Write the one where you rise. The next version of you is already waiting. Pick up the pen. Now, comment below, "I control my mind, no one else does." Number 7. Stop reopening wounds that were meant to heal. Right now, you're doing something that seems harmless, but it's keeping you emotionally stuck. You scroll back through old messages, check her social media, replay memories, and analyze every word she said before things ended. It feels like closure. It feels like understanding. But what you're really doing is ripping the scab off your healing heart every time it starts to close. This is emotional self-harm disguised as reflection. The Stoics would call it exactly what it is: attachment to illusion. The more you hold on to what's already gone, the more you bleed from wounds that should have already begun to scar. Chasing answers, validation, or some perfect mental resolution is a form of resistance. And what you resist persists. You think that you'll finally be able to move on by figuring out why she left or what went wrong. But the Stoic truth is this: closure doesn't come from her words. It comes from your acceptance. The moment you stop needing an explanation is the moment you start taking your power back. You don't need her to tell you why. You don't need her to acknowledge your pain. You don't even need her to remember what you had. That's her journey. Yours is to stop bleeding every time you look back. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." That's not detachment, it's sovereignty. And you achieve that by ending behaviors that keep you emotionally tethered to someone who no longer walks beside you. Stop refreshing her profile. Stop reading old texts like scripture. Stop visiting the gravesite of a relationship that no longer lives. So, how do you take back control? Make a ritual of letting go. Every morning, delete one thing that connects you to her. An old message, a photo, a saved post. Every night, journal one truth you've learned about yourself from this pain. Replace the habit of checking on her with a habit of checking in with you. When you feel the urge to revisit the past, redirect that energy into your body. Run, hit the gym, or take a cold shower. Let physical discomfort replace emotional regression. Over time, your brain will rewire itself to associate emotional pain not with nostalgia, but with transformation. And here's the impact. You stop leaking energy. You stop waking up heavy. You begin to feel lighter, clearer, stronger. The woman who once occupied your thoughts every hour begins to fade into the background. Not because she meant nothing, but because you finally accepted she's no longer yours to carry. acceptance, and peace are things no one can take from you. The scar is a symbol, not of weakness, but of survival, of growth, of a man who faced something painful and came out more complete. You don't hide the scar, but you no longer keep pressing on it to feel something. It's time to let it heal. Let it harden into wisdom, because dragging your past into your future only ensures you relive it. You're not meant to stay in the pain, you're meant to rise beyond it. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 8. Stop watching her, let her start watching you. Whether you admit it or not, you're still giving her your attention. You could check her stories, you could scroll through her feed, maybe you glance at who she's with, what she's doing, if she looks happy or misses you. But every second you spend watching her life is a second you take away from your own. You've built a prison with open doors, and the only guard is your own obsession. The Stoics would call this the misdirection of focus, placing your energy on what lies outside your control rather than mastering what lies within. If you want to take your power back, you need to stop being the observer of her world and become your own architect. Attention is currency, and you're spending all of yours on someone who's no longer investing in you. That's emotional debt. You think by staying updated on her life, you're maintaining a connection, but what you're doing is reinforcing your own helplessness. You're feeding the illusion that she still matters more than your mission, growth, and peace. The Stoic path is not one of cold detachment, but of deliberate redirection. You don't cut ties to punish her, you cut ties to reclaim your soul. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." And in this context, that means stop speculating about how she feels, whether she regrets it, whether she's watching you too. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you are no longer on the sidelines of your own existence. When you stop looking outward, you start turning inward. That's when real transformation begins. Here's what to do now. Go zero contact, not just in communication but in attention. Unfollow her, mute her name, remove the shortcuts your brain has created to keep tabs on her. Whenever you're tempted to check, ask yourself, is this helping me grow or is this keeping me stuck? Then immediately replace that impulse with productive action. Open a book, go outside, hit the gym, call someone who lifts you. The mind, like the body, is trained through repetition. The more you say no to distraction, the more you say yes to control. And this has a profound psychological effect, not just on you, but on her. When you disappear from her notifications, your likes vanish and your name fades from her feed, she feels it. The absence you create becomes louder than any message you could send. She starts to wonder. She starts to feel your energy pulling away, and ironically, the less you focus on her, the more she might think about you. But that's not the goal. The goal is to build such a powerful, fulfilling life that it no longer matters, even if she thinks about you again, because you're too focused on your mission. You're too in love with your own progress. The man who used to obsess over her has been replaced by a man she wouldn't even recognize. Grounded, disciplined, magnetic in his stillness. When you stop watching her, you free her, and more importantly, you free yourself. That freedom is what gives you presence, and presence is what creates impact. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 9. Real distance creates real power. Right now, you might be pretending you've moved on. You act calm when you run into her, throw up a few strategic social media posts to seem unbothered, and maybe even drop subtle hints that you're doing great. But deep down, you're still holding on. You're still checking if she's seen your story. You're still hoping your silence will provoke a reaction. But let's get real. If you're trying to look like you've moved on, you haven't. What you're practicing isn't detachment, it's performance. And performance requires an audience, which means she still holds space in your mind. Stoic detachment isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely reaching a place where you don't need to. True separation is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't expect anything in return. It just happens, and it stays. The Stoics believed that real strength comes not from isolation, but from inner fullness. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Emotional freedom means no longer needing anything from her. Not closure, guilt, or even acknowledgement. You don't stop caring about manipulation. You stop caring because your soul has outgrown the situation. When you embrace real mental, emotional, and digital distance, you stop sending signals. You don't text, you don't react, you don't hope, you disappear. Not to punish her, but to reconnect with yourself. In a world full of noise, silence is a force. When your energy retreats entirely, you stop playing her game. You exit the emotional tug-of-war, and that's when your true transformation begins. Here's how you step into this. First, audit your intentions. Are you moving on so she'll notice? Or are you moving on because you're done being emotionally controlled? Be honest. Then, erase any pathway that keeps you emotionally entangled. Block her if needed, not to spite, but to protect your space. Unfollow mutual friends who serve as intel. Stop visiting emotional landmarks like the cafe you used to go to or the playlist that brings her face back into your mind. Create sacred space. Fill it with movement, learning, and stillness. This kind of detachment rewires your identity. At first, it feels like emptiness, but that emptiness quickly becomes clarity. You remember what you were like before her, what you valued, what made you laugh, what gave you purpose. And as you start showing up for yourself again, the need for her fades, not with bitterness, but with a quiet confidence that says, "I'm good, no matter what." And here's what happens psychologically, often without warning. The same person who took your silence for granted will begin to notice your absence. Not because you tried to be noticed, but because energy speaks. She will feel that you are no longer accessible, not in a cold way, but in a complete way. She will wonder, what changed? But you won't be there to answer. You'll be too focused on building the version of yourself that doesn't look back. Real distance makes you mysterious. Real distance makes you magnetic. But most of all, real distance makes you whole again. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 10, let her feel regret while you find freedom. Right now, you may still have a quiet hope that someday she'll realize what she lost and come back, regretful, asking for forgiveness or another chance. That moment might bring you validation, satisfaction, or justice. But here's the cold, hard truth from a Stoic perspective. Even if that moment arrives, it won't set you free. Only you can do that. Real freedom isn't found in her regret. The irony, however, is that your indifference, genuine, powerful, unwavering, may be exactly what makes her feel it most deeply. According to the Stoics, true strength is not controlling how others feel or react, but how you feel and respond. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Your power doesn't come from winning her back or from seeing her realize what she gave up. Your power comes from reaching a state where her regret, or lack thereof, no longer moves you. You become untouchable when your happiness, identity, and peace of mind don't depend on her anymore. That state of true emotional independence is your victory, not your regret. Oh, how do you create this freedom for yourself? You stop waiting for her to feel sorry or to miss you. You stop imagining scenarios where she comes back begging. Instead, you invest every moment into becoming someone who needs nothing outside himself for validation. Strengthen your mind through discipline. Strengthen your body through fitness. Strengthen your spirit through wisdom. Live with intention. Choose growth over bitterness, purpose over revenge. When you focus relentlessly on your path, the past simply fades behind you. Psychologically, this shift is profound because it puts you back in control. You're no longer reacting to her emotional state or her decisions. You're not looking back to see if she notices you anymore. Your eyes are forward, your steps purposeful, your mind clear. Paradoxically, your new strength and composure are precisely what can spark the very regret you've stopped hoping for. When you become a man who no longer needs her attention or remorse, your value in her eyes multiplies exponentially. She might suddenly question her choices, not because you orchestrated it, but because your newfound independence radiates a strength that's impossible to ignore. Yet, if that day comes, you may find that it no longer matters. You won't be the same man she left behind, confused, hurt, reactive. Instead, she will see someone she doesn't recognize, stronger, clearer, freer. She'll wonder what happened and why you seem more at peace without her. But by then, you'll have found something far more precious than her regret. Your own peace, your own direction, your own authentic power. This is your final Stoic realization. The deepest victory isn't in seeing her sorry. It's in becoming someone who no longer needs that apology. She chose to leave, but you chose freedom. She chose absence, but you chose presence. And when you master that choice, you're unstoppable. Not because she regrets leaving, but because you became strong enough not to care if she does. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. You began this journey thinking she took everything with her when she left, but now you understand. What she took was never truly yours. What you build from this moment forward is. She didn't steal your value. She revealed the parts of you that still needed sharpening. And now, you're becoming a man she'll remember, not because of what you said, but because of what you became. If you're ready to keep building the unshakable version of yourself, like this video, subscribe and comment. I am unstoppable. Stay disciplined, stay focused. Your rise is inevitable if you keep moving forward.